reporters at this table and elsewhere were hustling all week amid the standoff between House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell over the transfer of those 2 impeachment articles to the upper chamber.
There will be no haggling with the House over Senate procedure. We will not cede our authority to try this impeachment. The House Democrats' turn is over.
At some point, we would hope that we would see from them what the terms of engagement will be.
Then on Friday, the Speaker released a statement that seemed to end the logjam, saying she is moving forward and has asked Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler to appoint managers and transmit articles of impeachment to the Senate. Still, much about this trial is unresolved, including whether there will be witnesses, as Carl Hulse and his colleagues wrote this week in The Times, with the former National Security Advisor John Bolton now volunteering to testify in the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump. The circumstances of the toxic 2018 Kavanaugh showdown could provide a template for what to expect as senators extend their clash over the ground rules for opening the proceeding. Are we going to see John Bolton testify?
Well, I don't know. Jake and I disagree on this a little bit. I do think that it's going to be hard for them to not call witnesses. Their entire argument of Senator McConnell and Republicans is, let's follow the Clinton precedent. Let's follow Senate precedents. Every previous Senate impeachment trial has had witnesses. It's going to be hard as this goes forward to argue. But are the numbers there? It's going to take 4 senators from the Republican side to potentially make that happen. We all know who 3 of them are. It's really hard to figure out who that 4th person is. But I still think that the public is going to watch this and say, well, John Bolton wants to testify. Why are you not hearing from John Bolton? So I'm leaning a little more towards witnesses now than I was earlier in the week.
Jake, he said you disagree.
Yeah, I do, but not vehemently or aggressively. I think Carl definitely could be right. I have trouble finding the 4th person, and my only thinking is after 2 weeks of trial and just a lot of being in the Senate and not being at home, senators are going to want to close up shop, and it's really tough to be the deciding vote. And Carl and I were talking offset, maybe it'll be 6 people or 10 people. That would make it easier. I just think then the president's going to get involved and he's going to try to block the testimony, and it's just going to be an entire mess.
Real quick, why did Speaker Pelosi move now? Was it pressure from Senate Democrats like Senator Dianne Feinstein, who said it's time to bring these over?
Nancy Pelosi had no leverage. Leverage exists when both sides need something from each other. Mitch McConnell needed nothing from Nancy Pelosi, so he wasn't going to give in to anything Nancy Pelosi wanted. She first wanted to change the rule, to have a say in the Senate rules. He said no. She then wanted to see the rules. Mitch McConnell said no to that. He had his votes locked up, so he had the power, and Nancy Pelosi, the string kind of ran out a little bit on this play, which wasn't actually much of a play at all. We all in the Capitol kind of wondered what was up and why she was doing this, and still to this day, it's not clear to me what she achieved beyond what her people say, her aides say, was a weeks-long discussion over witnesses. If that's what you wanted, then you got that, at least. I'm not sure how much impact that will have.
And the managers, what does the White House want? These are the prosecutors, the defense attorney type in this process. What do they want? Do they want it to be Matt Gaetz or Jim Jordan, the hardcore conservative, or are they going to delegate to Leader McConnell?
Well, let's just start more broadly and also specifically with what the president wants. And what the president wants is what he always wants, which is what he wants fighters who, quote unquote, look the part out there on TV or out there in the halls of Congress, on the floor of the Senate, defending him in sort of the most fiery, feisty way possible. So yes, does President Trump want a Jim Jordan or a Matt Gaetz, even though he's frustrated with him now for his war resolution vote, out there supporting him, defending him, making the case in the court of public opinion? Absolutely. If you even go back to the Mueller probe, when he was looking for lawyers, he wasn't necessarily looking for the best legal expertise, the best person who could hole up in a law office and flip through the documents and figure out the best strategy. He wanted someone who could go on TV and make that case in the court of public opinion. That's one of the reasons he ended up with Rudy Giuliani, although people can disagree if he was the best public face of that messaging. So that's what the president wants. It's not what Leader McConnell wants. It's unclear to me where that will ultimately end up.
Nancy, how does the world see this? When you're at the Pentagon talking to U.S. officials and they see a president about to face an impeachment trial, does North Korea, Iran, do they see a weakened President Trump, a vulnerable President Trump, or is it a minor matter?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons that senior military officials this week had to answer the question, was this a wag the dog scenario? I think there was this fear that these strikes, because it wasn't explained very well, because it wasn't well understood, that this was a wag the dog moment. So you see it in that way. And I think because of that, it raises questions about U.S. intentions. One could argue that one of the reasons Iran kept doing its strikes was because it saw a president distracted and unable to retaliate because of impeachment. You could argue that North Korea is conducting itself the way it is, a little bit more brazen than perhaps one would have expected, because they see a president too distracted by impeachment to really challenge them. So the intersection, as I see it, is people making decisions to challenge America's foreign policy or military strategy because they are betting on a president too distracted, too politically weak to retaliate. And I think that's one of the reasons the Qasem Soleimani strike was so surprising.
Jake, you live at the House. Essentially, you do.
I do.
I'm curious about the process of transferring the articles from chamber to chamber. How is it going to work? What do you know about the timing and how this is going to play out?
Well, I think, and Carl could help me out here. I'm going to lean on Carl a little bit here. No, but on Tuesday, the House comes back Monday. Tuesday, the House Democrats are going to meet. We expect sometime Tuesday or Wednesday they will vote. Now, Senate procedures when it comes to impeachment indicate that on 1 o'clock, the day after the articles are transmitted, and they're transmitted in a cedar box in a very kind of strange...
A cedar box?
Walking across the...
Is that true?
Ceremony.
Is it a cedar
there'll
box?
be a ceremonial walking.
Did they have
over
that for Clinton's trial in '99?
You know, I'm sure they
think
did.
they did,
I
yeah.
don't really remember it, but I think they did.
And then the Senate has to start. There's a lot of procedure at the front end, but they have to vote on their rules, which, by the way...
How many votes do they need? 51?
They need 51, and Mitch McConnell has already said he has that locked up. And then there's 24 hours for both sides to present their case, 16 hours most likely for the senators to question, and then we get going.